Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a good morning to you. It is July 6th, 2022. I hear sort of a resignation in my voice. I'm going to try to be, what can I do? I'm going to be who I am. And who I am is like, Hey, I just want to note something because it occurred to me again. And I haven't heard anyone point it out this time, but I'm sure a lot of people have. It's interesting, isn't it, that, let's see, Buffalo, the killer, was apprehended and unharmed in the apprehension and is alive. Uvalde, he's dead. But this one, Highland Park, he also taken alive after in his car attempting to get away. And it's just fascinating. It could have been coincidence that these white mass murderers are invariably unharmed being apprehended. It's not as if they are not known to the police who are pursuing them as armed and dangerous. Because we're often hearing from police who shoot unarmed black men that they felt threatened. He reached, they're threatened by a movement of a hand. Here are, there's many instances, of course, of known mass murderers armed. And somehow the police are not so threatened that they put out 70, 90 rounds. I just gotta think that it is not coincidence, even though I'm suggesting a very small pool of evidence here, but it's really something, because that is what we have learned is what the police say. They felt endangered. They felt threatened. And certainly, I just want to say again, they had every reason to feel threatened when they apprehended the Buffalo shooter, when they apprehended this creep. But somehow they managed to do their job without firing their weapons. Again, I'm just saying. Here's something else I want to say. I made the mistake of watching some coverage on, I don't know where it was, maybe CNN, on one of the cable stations yesterday. And what I put it on, and what I came upon was a live news conference being held by the authorities in Highland Park. So I stayed for a while, since it was unfiltered. It was just them talking, putting out information. And I increasingly became so annoyed. Now, I don't know if I'm just, no, I am not going to apologize for my reaction. It was the person I came upon was I identified as the Lake County, which is where Highland Park is, the Lake County State's attorney. So he's, I guess, essentially the DA for that jurisdiction. And this guy, doesn't normally find himself on national television, but boy, he made the best of it. On and on and on he went. He had written a little speech about the horrors of this and that, and he said about thanking every Tom, Dick, and Harry on stage and those not on stage. And I thought, what the hell is this? What is the point of this? And then it became obvious. The point of this was he was announcing, this was the news, he was announcing that the mass murderer was being charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder. That now is 7, I'm sure. 7 counts of first-degree murder. That was his announcement. That was why everyone was called together. Now, normally, that does not require that kind of a performance. You just say it. But here's a guy who had an opportunity, and he made the best of it. He drew it out. And there was a crowd there, because obviously there'd been an announcement made that there would be, and it was outdoors. And so when he finally got to the part of his presentation where he said, so, blah, 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 6 counts of first-degree murder, a woman's voice is heard. Woo-hoo! That's what we hear. Woo-hoo! Nobody else reacted. And I would hope that the woman who did it, realizing nobody else reacted, had a moment where she thought that what she had done was perhaps inappropriate. She reacted like she was at, well, I don't know, athletic event. And as I continued to watch this thing, it occurred to me that we don't know how to comport ourselves anymore. We are all living in an age in which every body is expected to be one of 2 things. Either a performer or an audience member. The woo-hoo woman was an audience member. The state's attorney was the performer. And I really think that we have been schooled without realizing it for decades now to have these positions so that everything looks like an entertainment. Everything is a performance, which is why a state's attorney can't just put out a press release, what they used to do, to say that so-and-so will be charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder. No. Got to be a performance. And after he said that, he went on. He had more. He said, there'll be more charges. That's just the start, blah, 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 blah. And at some point, others, the woo-hoo woman was never heard from again. But others began to applaud in places where he was being tough. believe me, there's a downside to being turned into spectators, audience, being an audience, while the people in power perform for us. There are certain expectations that are created which distort the performer's role, as it did this guy's. A lot of what he did yesterday was unnecessary, but he saw it as an opportunity, and he went for it. And then after him, somebody who was actually even over him came on and did the same kind of thing. And what they were all doing was kissing each other's asses. I want to thank this. I want to thank that. This next guy thanked every, I swear, state office department, county office department, every person practically, this department, that department, this agency. He was so proud to be part of it. He was honored to serve with, blah, 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 blah. What is that about? I'm just asking, what is that about? I'll tell you, as an audience member, I find it boring. But what it's about is egos. And so we watch these people kiss each other's behinds. And then I want to say this. The behinds that get kissed the most. Oh, my God. And when I saw this thing yesterday, wow, the police. I don't think this state's attorney got one sentence out of his mouth before he mentioned again, I cannot thank the police enough for their brave, blah, 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 blah. Another sentence. And have I mentioned the incredible job the police did? And another sentence. And let us thank these men and women who put their lives on the line every day. Kiss, 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 kiss. They come back. The next guy does more police ass kissing. And excuse me, here's what I started to think as I was watching this. What are they being thanked for? Wait a minute here. Excuse me, wait. Can we cut through, interrupt their performance? Why are they being thanked so profusely? They're being thanked for doing their job? I don't know about you, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any other job holder or profession that now expects to be thanked profusely for simply showing up and doing what they're being paid to do. I don't get thanked. You don't get thanked. Oh, but there's a difference. They could be killed. Well, I got news for you. That is not the most dangerous profession. And I got news for you. The dead that day were not wearing uniforms. They were just regular people. No police were injured. No police were harmed in the doing of their jobs. And you could argue they did their jobs badly because the guy escaped. Right? So stop and think about it. That guy was not aiming at police. He was aiming at children, old people, and regular, ordinary people, men, women, children. The police failed to apprehend him initially. And then, of course, when they do, they don't harm a hair on his head. And then forevermore, every news conference, we have to bow and scrape and talk about how wondrous the police are. What the hell is that about? Listen, I'd be the first to call the cops if I need the cops, and I expect them to show up and do the job I called them for. That's the job. And it reminds me of something that I've often made fun of in a ranting kind of a way. I hate what we've done to generations of American children by overpraising them. Oh, good job, Johnny. Good job. What a good try. Good try. Yeah, he swung and missed by 10 miles. Yes, great. Woo, right? Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a sticker. Everybody gets a star. Good job, even if it isn't. It's one thing to do that to kindergartners. It's another thing to do it to the cops. But it's the police that now expect this kind of adulation. Whether they did the job well or not, it doesn't matter. They just expect it. I'm just pointing it out. And back to the fact that everything now in our culture is viewed as a performance. I mean, everything is, okay? I am not overstating the case. This is some of the most private, intimate moments in a person's life now are expected by so many to be performative, like a proposal of marriage. What the hell has happened? I would imagine a guy asking a woman to marry him, or a guy asking a guy to marry him, or whatever the hell, you would engender some anxiety, right? Oh, I'm going to do it. Now, add on to that. Not only are you going to do it, but you've got to somehow come up with some friggin' performance. Or she or he, the intended, might be, a little underwhelmed. So these mass killings now, everybody has a role they play. The cable networks fall into a routine. They know how to do this now. And they do it sort of almost like a true crime podcast. And we all get to be there. Everybody plays the role. The cops are always the heroes, whether they performed heroically or not. Another thing that has happened, which is an outrage, is that I recall sometime, somewhere, seems like very long ago, that it had been suggested, and even was done for a time or two, that these mass killers not be identified by media. That how they yielded, each one of these yields copycat or 2 or 3 or 4, and it mushrooms. Because you get to be on the front page. You get to be, look at this kid, this son of a bitch. We know his name. We're getting to know his family, his friends, his picture. Some other fucked up kid somewhere is watching all this and thinking, I can do this too. Whatever happened to not giving these killers what they so often crave, which is celebrity and to be somebody? And what is the responsibility of the media in that? Do you or I have to know their names? Do we have to see their faces? Obviously, whatever had initially been thought it would be good not to do that has been, because there's a show to go on. The curtain's coming up. We got scenes to play. We know exactly how this is supposed to unravel. We're being turned into a nation of voyeurs. And I'm going to have to go back to just not turning the television on. I guess media cable figured out what a gold mine this was. Might have started with the slow speed OJ car chase. Remember that? We watched, just wrapped. And people whose job it is to attract eyeballs said, wow, look at this. Crime, real-time crime. The victims, like everybody's next door neighbors or moms or dads or children. This is, it is a friggin' gold mine. Just saying. Yeah? God help us. We are, I'm sorry, but I find our culture loathsome. Loathsome. I know that's strong, but I mean it. Why can't I get rid of this? Okay, hang on. I'm actually looking to see if any of you, I didn't have my email up. Hey, one thing that I saw in the local paper today that I was heartened to see was that a number of Pennsylvania Republicans, highly placed Republican office holders and former office holders. You know, when you think of Pennsylvania Republican politics, these are names that you know. Former Congressman Jim Greenwood, Charlie Dent, former state Speaker of the House, Republican, what was his name? O'Brien. Robert Jubileer. There's a name I recall. These are all staunch Pennsylvania Republicans, and guess what they have done? They have endorsed the Democrat Josh Shapiro for governor. I don't think that's ever happened before. Big Republican names coming out, full-throated endorsements of the Democratic candidate. And that gives me some sense of solace, because what they're actually doing, these guys, is they're trying to save their own party. And they might be a little too late, is my guess. But I appreciate that they are signaling to other Republicans that this is different. This is a different election, and you cannot go by the R after someone's name, because Mastriano, or whatever the F his name is a friggin' Nazi. Some of what they're saying is that they know that a lot of Republicans statewide might not have the nerve to do as they are doing. But you'll notice these are almost all former office holders. They're not seeking votes themselves anymore. So it's amazing what that does to a man's spine. But at least they're doing it. And they're also saying that a lot of Republicans that they know, staunch Republicans, while not necessarily saying that they support Shapiro, will be voting for the Democrat because they're terrified of what the Republican candidate will do. So I think that's my bit of good news. The only other good news I could find today, and boy, I do look, was, and I really don't give a damn. And you don't either probably, is that it really looks like that unbelievable creep, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, is going down. He doesn't seem to know it yet, but he's going down. I don't think he'll last the week. What do I know? I hope he's starting to pack up, because I don't think number 10 Downing Street's going to be his address for much longer. Again, to use the word of the day, a loathsome character. So that's some good news. Now, I wanna, and the other piece of good news is true. There are these subpoenas that have been handed out in the Georgia criminal investigation that everybody in the know says is the one that Trump has got to be most terrified of. And these are the kinds of subpoenas that nobody can dodge. They come from a grand jury, and these guys got to show up. And these guys include Senator Lindsey Graham. Woo! Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, those two probably looking at potential jail terms themselves. And this has to do with, again, the Georgia case. And it's good because all of this suggests that as more and more high-profile senators now, Lindsey Graham, for God's sakes, get tangled up in this attempt to find a measure of justice for the treasonous behavior of the president and so many others after the election. This is going to, it can only make the chance that Trump will, in fact, find himself in handcuffs. God, I wish. And we're hearing, and I'm sure it's true, that he's intending to announce he's running again any minute, because he's doing it strategically, because he figures if he announces he's a candidate, that he can then argue more forcefully that all of this activity is a witch hunt and is politically motivated. Not that he wouldn't anyway, but it gives him probably more opportunity to grift, to make money, and also to rouse his murderous base in some manner. So thinking of that, and this is something I have been thinking a lot about, is who, if Trump's going to run, and I do not think that he, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I do not think he will be the nominee. I think before that process plays out, a lot is going to happen. And I think, again, the party will desperately try to move to somebody else to break free in some way. I don't know. They've missed opportunity after opportunity to do so. But they're dying to hand the torch over to some other repulsive character like a DeSantis. But the question arises: who should the Republicans run? Who gives them their best shot? And that begs the more terrifying question, if you ask me, of who the Democrats run. I'll tell you somebody we shouldn't, absolutely cannot, is Joe Biden. And I say that not because he's been a terrible president. It's just been that he's too old. He's too old, and he's not enough of a fighter. We need a scrapper. And we need younger, which ain't hard. And who is that? As I've been saying for so long, the gerontocracy that is the leadership of the Democratic Party is practically on life support. They're so old. Just because they're old and vigorous, like a Nancy Pelosi, unbelievable. It doesn't mean they ain't old and shouldn't move aside and let there have been 2 generations that have been pretty much the damn word I'm looking for. I hear you screaming it, but I don't quite hear it. You know what I mean? Pretty much been, just blocked from their natural progression in leadership. People in their 50s and 60s, where are they? They sure ain't in the leadership. Our leadership is 70s and 80s. People in their 50s and 60s, let alone 30s and 40s. And there've got to be really good people there. We just don't know them because they haven't been allowed to rise in this sclerotic, ossified party. Who do we run? And when I say that, and you start thinking, you've got to get nervous, right? Because there is no obvious person. None. And I'm talking about a winner, someone who can win a national vote, someone with the energy, the guts, the thinking outside the box, the courage to just stand and fight and not retreat. Who is that? And also somebody who people will be drawn to. Know anybody? Every time a Democrat in any position says something that sounds like pugnacious, the media goes nuts and says, hey, there it is. That person, like now it's Pritzker, the Illinois, I almost said Jay Pritzker. I don't know. What is his first name? JB Pritzker, but I don't know what the J is. My family has some relation to his family, but the Pritzker I know he's dead now, is Jay Pritzker, who I believe is JB's uncle. I know it's not his dad. But the Pritzkers are an incredibly wealthy family. And I know them because Jay Pritzker took my father under his arm when my dad was a freshman at Northwestern University, who had been orphaned. He had lost his father the year before, and then his mother died. And he was this lonely kid from Green Bay, off to college, and no one to go home to. And Jay Pritzker became his friend, and Jay took him home so that my dad would go to the Pritzker family for the holidays. And that is a friendship that lasted a long, long time. But all of a sudden, J.B. Pritzker, they're talking about as president. I don't know. Why? Because he actually said something after the shooting that sounded more full-throated than Biden. And I hear Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has even taken out an ad, go figure, which he's running in Florida, taunting DeSantis. Well, everybody's saying, wow, that's the kind of aggressive stuff we need. And Newsom, look at him. He's young. He's in his 50s. He's good looking. He's, lefty. And all I think of when I see him, didn't he used to be married to that awful woman who is now Donald Trump Jr.'s babe? Guilfoyle? Wasn't that Gavin Newsom's wife? Somebody help me here. Kimberly? And all I got to say, if I'm not incorrect in that, but somewhere in my head, I think she was married to Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom married that horror, I didn't say whore, I said horror of a human, then I don't want him. That suggests all kinds of things about his judgment. Me. And like so much out of California, he's too pretty. He's too, no, I want a human being that people look at and think, yeah. Who? Buttigieg. Maybe. But don't think for a minute it's not a liability that he'd come with a husband. Who? Got any ideas? And anybody you come up with is somebody that 90% of Americans don't know. Who? Jonathan, have you told me? Yeah. So I'm right. I didn't misremember that. Here's a nice picture of Kimberly Guilfoyle looking up. What a lovely couple. At Gavin Newsom. So go figure. Here's a woman, obviously. She is so vile. What kind of a person can go from, I don't know. They were the liberal power couple, it says here. They were on Charlie Rose's show. Remember Charlie Rose? Ha! Ha! All these horrible human beings. God almighty. God help us. So they were in a Harper's Bazaar spread that the magazine dubbed the couple the new Kennedys. She was always dressed in subtle black, long sleeve dresses, stood by his side. They lounged together in well-appointed interiors. Good God. So she leaves him, then she marries somebody else within a few years. Then she divorces him, and then she gets a job at Fox News. And the rest is history. I'm sorry. Gavin, sometimes these choices we make have repercussions which we cannot even conceive of. I'm serious. So Newsom obviously is positioning himself. He's this ad thing in Florida, which apparently ran over this last 4th of July weekend. And I mean, stop and think about it. Why would a governor in California take out an ad to run in Florida, telling people in Florida that they were living in a potentially, a Nazi, a fascist state? Why would he do that? Here is some of what it says, the ad. Freedom is under attack in your state. Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you to join the fight or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. So he didn't mention DeSantis, but that's who he's going at, and he's probably saying to people, "Look, I'm the one to take this guy on because this is the guy who's going to be the head of the Republican ticket." And in all likelihood, that is true. And believe me, I'd rather see Trump on the ticket than DeSantis, because I don't think Trump can win, but DeSantis could. Maybe. What the hell do I know? What do any of us know? We are in uncharted territory. Oh, God. You know, the more I think of this current Republican Party, the more and the fact that you've got these Republicans here in Pennsylvania that are going to actively even campaign perhaps for the Democrat, desperately trying to keep the party here from becoming just full-on white nationalist, as the standard bearer, their candidate for governor is, unabashedly. And if you think of what these Republican states are doing, and then try to remember, do they still call themselves or suggest that they are the party that values small government? I mean, that was the thing, right? Democrats, they're for government, 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 government. Republicans, we want government out of your lives, right? We want to make government so small we can drown it in a bathtub. Anybody notice how in these Republican-run states that the reach of government is becoming unbelievable? Where they don't reach much is into like regulation. So things like where Democrats say, government is good because we can ensure that the air you breathe or the water you drink or the food you eat is safe. That is a role the government must play, federal government, so that you don't have to worry about drinking the water or breathing the air or eating something. So that's where Republicans disagree. Because with this recent case with the Supreme Court, this Republican Supreme Court, making it difficult for the very agency that is supposed to ensure that our air is clean Cannot do so. So Republicans don't believe in government using its power to in any way get in the way of people making a buck. If by making a buck, it means poisoning a few kids, putting out some products that are going to kill, poisoning the air. Well, hey, man, it's a free market. We don't want no government coming in and telling us what we can and can't do. But this party of small government, man, they're setting up a surveillance state. They're setting up a surveillance state. They're going, the minute a woman becomes pregnant in some of these states, she's going into a database. If something happens to that pregnancy, they're going to investigate that. Imagine? They're going to investigate that as a crime, potential crime. They're going to seek records. Who'd she talk to? Where'd she go? Did she attempt to cross state lines? This is small government. Government, well, maybe it is. It's a kind of small, it's government so small that it'll fit inside a woman's fallopian tube. Maybe that's what they always meant by small government. So small it can peek through the keyhole and make sure that the sex you're having is okay by the law, or the book you're reading is okay. They're eavesdropping on teachers. They're telling neighbors to spy on neighbors, children to rat on teachers. Yeah. They're deputizing ordinary citizens. That is correct, because they don't believe in government. No, they just believe in turning neighbor against neighbor, citizen against citizen, keeping Toms into deputies. That's the party of small government. It's the party of that calls itself pro-life. That's the funniest one now, I think. Because I'm not sure, but you tell me if more Americans aren't dying every week by gunfire than soldiers in Ukraine, which is in a war. Tell me. Where do you think the body count is higher? Because I feel absolutely certain that in the United States, and I'm not talking about soldiers, I'm talking about kids and people and every day going about their business. I'm talking about more the body count in the United States of America, which is ostensibly not a nation at war. No, it's at war with itself. The body count here, I'm willing to bet, is more than the body count in Ukraine. And the body count is so high here because of the party of life, the pro-life party, that will not countenance any reasonable law to get this scourge of murderous weaponry out of people's hands. The pro-life party. Tell that to the little 2-year-old boy who's going to grow up orphaned at 2. No memory of his parents who were gunned down in Highland Park this weekend. Tell the 10-year-old that got raped and then had to flee her home state of Ohio so that she could end the resulting pregnancy. A 10-year-old girl. You tell me that is the party of life that cares about children. The kids in Uvalde who were literally decapitated by those weapons that the party of life thinks is the very definition of freedom. The Republican Party has turned into a grotesquerie. And it is, as that extraordinarily conservative federal judge said, a clear and present danger as currently constituted to the United States of America. And you even have the fact that Jubileer and these other Republicans, Dent, Republicans that held power in their party, now desperately wanting to disassociate themselves from what it is, who its base has anointed its standard bearer, because they know it's ain't about small government. There's nothing conservative about it. There's nothing about it that has anything to do with a party that used to exist but has ceased to exist. Because they know their party has crossed the Rubicon. It's done. It has become a white, nationalist, Christian, misogynistic, autocratic. All right, I'll stop. I could go on with adjectives for party. It's a clear and present danger. Ed says, did you know that Kimberly Guilfoyle was an assistant DA? She was elected to that in San Francisco. Man, so she was a real lefty from 2000 to 2004. Well, she must be one of the subscribers to When in Rome, right? I'm going where the power is. The power is over here. Okay, that's where I am. And when she got away from that power center, she went to where the power was on the other side. No problem there. What a vile human she must be. And I'm sorry, I can't look at Gavin Newsom without thinking of her. I just can't. All righty, guys. I think that's it. My time's up. Thanks for joining us, and I'll be back tomorrow, I guess, because I don't know any better.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.